Welcome to the Ultimate Career Planning series. This video is going to be about pinpointing your strengths that can help you advance your career. Stay tuned. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Karthik. Welcome to Enriching Beliefs. I'm sure you've been following this series ever since I started off. You have seen me speak about how do you identify and get started with your self-starter or your self-leadership or potential. And in the next sub-series, it's about developing a plan to further your career. And the very first video was about evaluating your current career, because if you know where you are, it's much easier to look at the direction on where you want to go. All right, so now in this specific video, I'm going to be talking about how do you pinpoint your strengths, because the more you start working on your strengths and not just keep all the time looking at your weakness, it's easier for you to grow, because strengths are something that naturally comes to you. All right, Sachin Tendulkar had the strength of playing cricket, in specific batting very effectively, and that was something that he always kept at and became one of the greatest of all time. All right, so with that point, let's get started. So the context here is, why do you have to pinpoint your strengths? The reason being, they'll determine if you'll be able to advance your career, because you might think that this is a strength that can have a potential, but when you really understand it in a deep way, you can really make sure that can this strength have a potential for you to pay in the market. All right, that's something you really have to also know. Having a clear idea of your strengths will give you the freedom to choose your career path that can be satisfying and fulfilling. As I said, you may spend 200 hours trying to get good at some certain skill which is probably not your natural strength, but as compared to that, if you just work on, let's say, half the time or even quarter of that time on your strength, you might pick up that thing much faster and an easier way. Whereas strengths are those where your abilities and interests come together. This is a very important point, that strengths are those where your interests and abilities come together. As I said, this interest that you have and the ability that you have should also have a potential for you to pay and monetize. All right, so that's something you have to also keep an eye on. And the next one is, when you choose a job that complements your strength, you'll be more happy, motivated, satisfied, and fulfilled, because naturally you will have that pull. You'll have that you'll gravitate towards these areas which are your natural strengths. That doesn't mean to say that you should ignore your weakness. We'll come to that later on, probably in this series. All right, so with that context, let's get started with pinpointing your strengths. Finding your strength, and what does that mean, or how can you even do that? How can you find your strength? The first point is informal feedback from co-workers and employees who really who are really close to you, who that will give good feedback, can actually shed great light on your strengths. Just go and have a casual chat with them. Ask them, what do you think are my real strengths? Or even you can go and in fact talk to the person who interviewed you and ask them, what made you to shortlist me for this job? I think that's something which not many do. Once the interview is done, either ways, if it was a positive response or a not so positive response, you should ask them why, so that you can really get that quality feedback on that. Has someone said communication or coding or leading people is your strength? Something like that. This is an example. All right. As someone whom you really know well, because through them they can really quickly identify what your strengths are. Second one being, formal feedback from your supervisor can help you indicate your strength, because let's understand one thing. You are hired for a job, you have been working on you're expected to fulfill certain roles and responsibilities, and you report directly to your supervisor, which means your supervisor can really actually pinpoint what your strengths have been. All right. Performance appraisal meetings can be one such opportunity to ask and know about your strengths. So it's not always about where you can improve or what areas you did not do well. If that's the conversation that your supervisor is always having, stop them or take that feedback and next ask them the question, what do you think my strengths are? Where do you think that I can have the biggest impact for this organization? All right, ask those questions. And if this is a bulb on or a super learning moment, is do comment below and write SL so that I know that you are really keen on learning and you're taking lots of notes. All right, the next one is don't have to wait till the next performance appraisal. As I said, some company follow like 6 months once or yearly performance appraisal, but you don't really have to wait for such a long time. If you think you really want to self-evaluate so that you can course correct your career journey, set up a meeting with your supervisor, with your manager, and ask them if you can just catch up for this quick feedback. All right, so that's the second one, a formal feedback. The third one being use questionnaire, survey, or a strength inventory to learn more about your strengths. Very important activity. You need not have to depend on anyone, but you can do it on your own. Let's see how you do it. All right, let's see an example. So what is a strength inventory? It contains a list of activities. All right, for each activity you indicate whether it is an interest or an ability. So your strengths. So this is how it's going to look like. So both columns have the check mark for a specific interest that is also your ability. So you have listed your interest, you have listed your abilities, and if both these columns have check marks, then I think you can really know that those are your strengths. If this is a cool moment, do leave me a like and subscribe so that you can really get these kind of cool hacks which will cut short time for your learning and really help you get to those goals and the journey faster. So let's also look at an example now. All right, how do you actually create this? Let's write down few example interests that you have. Using technology might be an interest that you have. Selling can be an interest. Persuading, influencing, leadership, all these things can be an interest. And let's see your abilities. If your abilities are mentoring, training, decision making, using technology, writing, communicating, persuading, influencing, now you can see that using technology is featuring here and it's also featuring here. Therefore, those are your strengths. Persuading is featuring here, featuring here. Influencing is featuring here, featuring here. Therefore, you can really know that these are things that you're good at and also something that interests you. These are some strength areas that you can really start pushing yourself and working yourself on. And one of the important ways to do it is to be part of community who are constantly learning, who are having very strong accountability so that they don't go off track. And if you're someone who's looking for certain strong accountability, a cool community, and a building the next breed of leaders from the scratch, if these are some things that interest you, you can join my live webinar, join my groups. I'll leave a link below so that I can really help you kickstart or fast track this journey. All right. So those are your strength inventory. Let's look at a pro tip here. And the pro tip here is, build upon your interests. Always, it's not just about looking at your weakness. Build upon your interests, because strengths can be developed because of the interests that you have, that you showcase naturally towards your strengths. And anything that is outside of this strength zone, just outsource. This is what sets great leaders or people who are really working, functioning at a different level from the rest of the crowd. They really outsource things that are not in their interest, that are not in their strengths, all right, that are not in their ability list as well. So use this pro tip and look at things that you can start outsourcing. The next one here is, what do you do once you know what your strengths are, all right? So probably the only thing you have to start looking at is pursue a career that can help you build on that. As I said, always constantly look at improving or doubling your effort or learning towards your strengths, and always try to see what things or what are those weak areas that you have that can be outsourced. All right. And the fourth one here is, what if I don't know my strengths? Some people still tell me this. I've gone through all these things, but I still am not very clear about my strengths. All right, so for them, this is the one thing that I can tell them. If you're really not keen on your, not aware of your strengths, that only means that you have not taken enough risk. That means you have not pushed yourself enough outside of your comfort zone. That means you have not ventured out on different areas. It's a high time that you start doing that. All right, venture out, try out different things, get comfortable getting uncomfortable. All right, and you'll never know until you get started on that. No one knew, such as I just mentioned during the start, Sachin Tendulkar would not have known that he would become Bharat Ratna or such a great legend unless he had tried his hands at batting. Everyone who become a legend, who are so great, people that who inspires you, they are who they are because they tried things, they understood, uh, they just probably tried few things out of curiosity maybe, and then figured out that those can be their strength areas, and therefore pursued a career out of that. All right, so those are the things that you can do. And as I said, do join my links, groups, and also join my live webinar where we can work together and I can help you to advance in your career through very specific, like by adopting systems and certain training and being part of a community. And it's not something like you do all the things on yourself, all by yourself, but I'll also be there to help you out every week. All right, so again, thank you so much for staying till this moment and learning through this video. Do leave me a comment, do leave me a like and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one in this ultimate career planning series. Take care.